"We're not your bank anymore," Dad snapped, his voice sharp with smugness. He stood there, arms folded, eyes gleaming with satisfaction, like he'd just delivered the final blow in a silent war I never agreed to fight. Mom didn't say a word. She just sipped her tea, pinky up like royalty, watching me pack my books from the kitchen table as if I were some unwanted guest overstaying her welcome. No warning. No empathy. Just exile. Their final verdict, delivered over burnt toast and orange juice. "You're 23. Grow up. We've done enough. You should thank us for what we already gave." By 10:04 a.m. I was on the sidewalk. One duffel bag, one cracked sandal and a dead phone battery. But by 4:17 p.m. my phone finally buzzed. It had charged just enough at a gas station cafe. A message flashed from Jonathan, our family's longtime trust manager. "Hi Isla. Just got their auto transfer request for $15,000 monthly allowances again. Shall I approve like always?" I stared at the screen. Then I smiled and typed one word. Denied. "My name is Isla Hart. I'm 23. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. Because what happens when the people who raised you forget your worth? And you finally have the power to remind them. They thought they shut the door on me. They didn't realize I held the keys to every other one in the house. And trust me, I was just getting started. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was heartbroken, but because I was calculating. Their words kept looping in my head like static. "We're not your bank. You owe us gratitude. We sacrificed so much for you." As if my entire existence had been one long invoice they'd been waiting for me to pay. But here's what they never knew. The trust wasn't theirs. It was mine. My grandfather, Mom's estranged father, had left everything to me after he passed. Not to them. Not a single cent. When they cut me off, they unknowingly severed their only lifeline. Jonathan had kept it quiet per Grandpa's legal instructions. I'd receive full access the moment I turned 23, 3 days ago. So when I typed denied, I wasn't just rejecting their allowance. I was flipping the table they'd been eating from for years. I moved into a small apartment downtown the next morning. Lisa my name. No roommates, no chaos, just 4 walls and quiet power. By Friday Mom texted, "Isla, darling, your father's heart meds are out of stock at the usual pharmacy. Could you please?" She didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. They'd grown so used to me funding every comfort they forgot I had limits. Or maybe they assumed I didn't. I replied with one line. "Maybe it's time you grow up. You're 52. Then I turned off my phone. That night I lit a candle, not for peace but for memory. I wanted to remember the silence that followed. The silence of people realizing their ATM just learned how to say no. By Sunday they were scrambling. My inbox lit up like a fire alarm. Polite desperation, dressed in punctuation. Subject lines read, "Hey, quick question. Family check-in, smiling face with smiling eyes. Just wondering about the mortgage." Mortgage? I nearly laughed. They'd used my trust to refinance their second vacation home. The one with the jacuzzi tub and the live laugh love sign nailed above the bathroom mirror. Now they wanted my kindness to keep it afloat. I forwarded every email to Jonathan. He knew what to do. No more auto-approvals. No more loopholes. No more lies. And then, the cherry on top. I found spreadsheets tucked in an old Dropbox folder Jonathan had shared, labeled historical transactions. Line after line. $8,700. Mom's spa retreat. $4,200. Dad's business seminar in Vegas. $19,600. Furniture upgrade. $2,100. Private school donation in Isla's name. I'd never even heard of the place. They used me like a human credit card, all while calling me entitled when I asked for help in college. All while lecturing me about financial maturity. So I began drafting a letter, not to them but to everyone they still tried to impress. Aunt Carol, Uncle Bennett, Cousin Shelby with the lake house. Each would get a copy. Not vindictive, just factual. Just enlightening. Attached. A polite explanation of why Mom and Dad's social invitations might soon be a bit more budget-conscious, and the ledger of every luxury they'd build to their daughter's future. But I wouldn't send it. Not yet. Not until they crossed one more line. And trust me, they always do. It happened on a Wednesday. A call from an unknown number. I let it ring out. Seconds later, a voicemail. I played it while brushing my hair. "Hi Isla. It's Pastor Reynolds. I've been asked to officiate your parents' renewal of vows this Sunday. I heard you're covering the reception costs again. That's very generous. My comb froze mid-stroke. Reception costs again? I opened my banking app. Nothing had been touched. Yet. Then I logged into the trust backend. There was. Pending invoice. $11,500 catering deposit. Heart vow renewal. Approved by Dad. 2 days after his "we're not your bank" speech. I stared at the screen, then I laughed. That bitter kind of laugh that doesn't reach your chest, just rattles in your throat like static. He had the audacity to call me entitled, while sliding his old fingers across digital funds that weren't his. Jonathan had flagged the transaction waiting on my green light. I clicked reject. Then on impulse I emailed Pastor Reynolds. Subject. Clarification. Dear Pastor, there must be a misunderstanding. I won't be attending the vow renewal, nor am I funding the event. Wishing them a meaningful celebration nonetheless. Regards, Slawhart. 2 hours later my phone buzzed again. Why would you embarrass us like this? Do you know how this makes us look? Family will talk, Isla. I stared at her words and replied. Then give them something worth talking about. Something shifted. Not just in them, in me. This wasn't rebellion anymore. It was reclamation. Thursday morning brought silence. No texts. No calls. No digital tantrums. Just silence, which for my parents was its own kind of war drum. I went for a walk to shake off the tension. Halfway through the park my phone buzzed. Jonathan again. Hey Isla. Just got a notice from the family attorney. Your parents filed a formal request to restructure the trust. They're claiming financial dependence based on parental investment and long-term caregiving. Want me to shut it down? My breath caught. They weren't just asking for money anymore. They were trying to rewrite history. Reframe it like they raised me alone. Like they were owed royalties for every diaper, piano lesson, and sacrifice they ever tallied in their mental spreadsheet. It was laughable, except it wasn't. Because this wasn't about money anymore. It was about control. And losing it was making them desperate. I told Jonathan to proceed legally. Full audit, statement of distributions, timeline of inheritance access. Paper trails don't lie. But people do. And my parents? They were masters at smiling while cutting you open. So I prepared for the storm. I set my social accounts to private, downloaded every email thread and bank receipt, and printed them neatly, chronologically. Because if they wanted to make this a stage, I would build the spotlight myself.
And when they stepped into it, they'd have no script, no applause. Only truth and paper cuts. Sunday arrived. Their vow renewal. The performance of the year. I didn't attend, of course. But I watched the live stream. Yes, they live streamed it. Mom, in a champagne-colored gown. Dad, in a smug little tuxedo, adjusting his cufflinks like a man who still believed he ran the show. I watched cousins clap, friends post stories, and old family acquaintances comment. Such a beautiful example of commitment. Love always wins. They had no idea the caterer had canceled last minute, or that the floral vendor had filed a lawsuit for a bounce check, or that the reception venue had been locked when the guests arrived because I'd cut the pipeline. They couldn't siphon gold from a well they'd already drowned. But they tried to hide the collapse. Grinned through it. Sipped sparkling cider like it was champagne. They made do until Monday. That's when I sent the letter. Printed. Bound. Mailed to everyone in that audience. Inside, a calm, respectfully worded statement explaining my withdrawal from family financial entanglements. No bitterness. No drama. Just facts. Bank statements. Screenshots. Emails. Receipts. And at the end, a personal note. Love doesn't demand repayment. Manipulation does. I've chosen to walk away from both. By Tuesday, the family group chat exploded. Cousin Shelby texted. They said you were unstable, but this is precision. Uncle Bennett called just to say, you did the right thing, sweetheart. And then Mom called. 12 times. I didn't answer. Not yet. I was letting the silence teach her what my words never could. Wednesday morning, a knock at my door. I peeked through the peephole. Jonathan. Not in a suit this time, but in jeans and a hoodie. Figured I'd deliver this one in person, he said, handing me a manila envelope. Inside, a handwritten letter from my father. Not an apology. Not even close. We're disappointed. We raised you better than this. Money isn't everything, Isla. Family is. You'll regret this when we're gone.
Signed, Dad.
No love. No warmth. Just guilt, disguised as legacy. I folded the letter once. Then again. Until it became a perfect square of nothing. I placed it in my drawer, not out of sentiment, but as a reminder. Then I looked at Jonathan. Ready? I asked. He nodded. We headed to the office of the estate attorney. I'd requested a meeting to update the trust. A new clause, effective immediately. If I passed before the age of 40, the funds wouldn't revert to my parents. They'd go to a scholarship for girls from emotionally manipulative homes. A direct rewrite of the narrative. One they could never erase. Later that night, I lit another candle. Not for memory this time, for release. The house I grew up in was never a home. It was a bank vault with chandeliers. Now I had something better. Solitude. Stability. Silence. The kind that doesn't punish, it just exists. Mom texted again at midnight. One day, you'll understand what it's like to be a parent. I stared at the screen, then powered off my phone, because the real inheritance wasn't money. It was freedom, and I wasn't giving it back. The seasons turned. Fall painted gold on the trees and quiet into my soul. I started volunteering at a community legal aid office. Nothing fancy. Just listening. People like me. People who'd been made to feel expensive for simply existing. One afternoon, I sat across from a girl named Marcy, 18, tears drying on her cheekbones. My mom says I'm ungrateful, that I ruined her credit. But she used my name to buy a car. I reached into my bag and handed her something. Not cash. Not tissues. A document. A blank template for financial boundaries and personal agency. Signed with authority.